everyone, my name is Sheetal. Welcome to our channel Sitare, and today we have our guest Mr. Sven, who is the head of the business development at JLL and at the same time the supply chain thought leader. So welcome Sven to our channel.
Thank you very much. Well, great to be here.
Yeah, same here. So Sven, we know that we are just starting with the new year with this podcast, and you are going to attend the supply chain forum, which is probably going to be the first event in Germany.
Yeah.
So would you like to share some insights on that with us?
Yeah, it's going to be interesting again to meet the supply chain community in Germany to discuss the topics. And obviously, when now with the container issues down, with the shooting going on the vessels, it will be interesting how the supply chain disruption is hitting the industry this time, and see how it develops from demand planning and forecasting with these issues again. And we have a low water in Panama Canal, so it seems like a flashback again.
Yeah, that's interesting. We know that you are working in the supply chain field at the moment, but as we could understand from your profile that you have finished your education in human resources management. So we are a little bit curious to know how this shift from human resource management to the supply chain has happened, how those learning years looked like in your career.
Well, it's a strange story, obviously. I studied business administration and then HR management, because I thought it would be always good to be together with people and drive that. And then after the time at the university, I took a break and did backpacking, and I ended up in Mexico.
Okay.
And in Mexico, I met my wife and found a job at Siemens. And in Siemens, they looked for someone who speaks German and studied business administration. And at the end, it was a job of a supply chain manager. And that's how I ended up in supply chain management. And that's where I am since 20 years now, but more than 20 years,
Yeah, that's interesting how you figured out your passion for the supply chain in your life.
Yeah. Unexpectedly.
Unexpectedly, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So now you are the head of the business development at JLL for the supply chain for the entire EMEA region.
Yeah.
So we would like to know about your current roles and responsibilities, how they are looking like at the moment.
Well, my job is currently at the moment to lead the business development in supply chain / real estate, because usually in the past, real estate companies had not much to do with supply chain.
Yeah.
Yeah, they provided with logistic assets and these kind of things, but they never were interacting with the logistics directors.
Yeah.
And we wanted to change that, so we hired a lot of people with supply chain experience to talk with the supply chain leaders what impact real estate has, especially when it comes down to vacancies. There are very low vacancies, locations are not available in the right place, financing is not working out pretty well. So that's why we said, hey, we start there with a crew of supply chain experts, and that turns out pretty good, And so I'm responsible for the region, and also managing the global collaboration with EMEA Consulting, so that we can offer a service that is quite unique to the market. It's a mix of advisory of real estate and supply chain services, and at the moment we're the only one. So I'm hoping more companies will do it, because we're paving the trend. But it would be great to have some others joining on that route, because then it's not a trend anymore, then it's something common. And I believe it's a huge added value for the clients.
Yeah, agreed. So what all challenges you were facing when you started with this journey as a supply chain professional in this real estate?
First when I came into the industry, the people in the industry hardly understood what I'm talking about when I talked about network planning. The real estate people just didn't know about it. And the supply chain people were asking me, what the hell are you doing in real estate? And like, those are two things that come together. If you do a network study, you really have to think about where can you go? How do you finance it? And that took me 1 or 2 years to explain everyone. One of my clients said at the beginning, either you're in the completely new way, no one's been there before, or you're completely wrong. And we'll figure it out. And after 4.5 years, I could say, it's the right way. And that's great. That you go for a new path. No one's been there before. That's great.
But when you were facing all these challenges, when you were actually handling the supply chain role in the real estate, which is one of the unique role per se, so how did you overcome these challenges on a day-to-day basis, when you know that the people to whom you are addressing are not able to understand your language, and you need to make them understand in
it's more or less like a teaching role. You have to think about yourself as kind of a teacher, that you talk about something new and explain to people several times what it is about in your own company and in other companies. And that's kind of fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
like I like that. That gives me motivation to move forward.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's not something I always try when I go into new roles. That it's something new, that I'm learning something new.
Yeah.
That I can speak with the same clients,
Yeah.
but about something new for them.
Yeah.
And that was clearly something completely new for everyone,
Yeah,
including
yeah,
me. Like how
yeah.
to put the whole advisory services new together.
So can we say that it was a win-win situation for both you and the client as
Of
well,
course,
where we
yeah,
both
yeah.
you
Everyone-
are learning about the supply chain and
Yeah.
the real estate.
Yeah, the discussions were like, usually you had a discussion when I was in the 3PL world, we knew what a 3PL is doing. We talk about where, and we switched very quickly to pricing.
Yeah.
And now we were like, oh, what is that? Yeah, explain to me a little bit what you're doing now.
Yeah.
And what the hell is JLL? Because in the supply chain world, no one knew it.
Yeah.
And they were like, is it an IT company? And I'm like, no, it's not an IT company. It's actually a real estate company. Oh, that's new. What is it? And so that was really cool. Yeah. And now, like with more business development people in the field, it becomes kind of a trend, and that's good.
Yeah, that's interesting to know.
Yeah. Some copying us, which is good. It's
Yeah,
always good.
yeah. It's always good to set the first role model for the people who
Yeah,
can
exactly.
follow. Yeah.
And that's the fun thing about it.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So let's talk about something new here.
Yeah.
We know that as a part of New Year revolution, probably, as we understood from your profile, that you have also started from this January as an additional activity per se, where you are going to perform as a business angel investor along with your current role in JLL.
Yeah.
So how did this idea came to your mind, and what is the way forward? How do you see this idea, going to be look like probably 1 or 2 years down the line?
Yeah, like during the COVID times, I was doing Clubhouse talks. For those people who don't know it, it's like a social audio thing. And I did it for supply chain management because everyone was at home. So I was like, hey, we have to keep the community together.
Yeah.
So let's talk online,
Yeah, that
and
was
no
a
one
good
can see.
initiative.
Yeah, no one can see us, but we can hear us and talk
Yeah.
about different topics.
Yeah.
So I had this Clubhouse show every week, once a week. And then we talked about robotics and everything, and also startups. And so a lot of startups reached out to me afterwards. And then suddenly last year, the owner of Waco Robotics came to me and said, hey, Sven, don't you want to join us and be a business angel for us? We need support in business development and how to guide us through the logistics industry. Don't you want to do it? And I said, oh, yeah, that's a cool idea, yeah. So I said, well, I will enter with a bit of money so that I have some shares in the company.
Yeah.
And I thought, yeah, that's something very interesting to do because I love to work together with the startups.
Yeah.
And for sure, I want to expand that in the future. That's why I founded my own company to invest in ventures. And it's always good to work together with young people, having new ideas, bringing them to the clients. And when you work in business development, you have the network.
Yeah.
And that is what most of the startups are lacking.
Yeah.
They have great ideas, great technical products, but how to approach the market is always difficult for them.
Yeah.
Because most of the time they come out of the tech industry,
Yeah.
and what you need is really the network to sell it afterwards.
True.
And that's where I see a huge opportunity working together with startups to guide them a little bit through that jungle of connections.
Yeah, so that's interesting. So you're planning to leverage your existing expertise along with your startup experience for the upcoming startups to bring them on the page, to guide them, and at the same time to provide them the financial assistance, right?
Exactly, and we at GLL, that's why I do this role together. Yeah, at GLL we also have an investment arm in prop tech companies, and some of them are in the field of supply chain as well. There's some automation stuff, and I also joined the Anchor group to build up supply chain ventures. So the network is getting bigger, and everyone is benefiting out of it. Yeah. So that's why JLL said, yeah, sure, you can do that, because at the end it helps to grow the network.
Yeah.
And expand the brand also between the startups. And work together with the Anchor group and building new ventures, finding the capital to build new ventures. And that's pretty interesting. And you can create again something new. That's always like, if you want to have like a red line through my resume, it's always like I always try to stay in the logistics world, supply chain world somehow. but also always try to do something new. Whenever I do something, I want to do something new. I don't want to repeat the same thing in a different company.
Yeah. So
And that's what I'm doing now and enjoying it.
yeah. I think always keeping that learning mindset in your life will always help you to grow in your career.
Yeah, and then you can teach people again and say, hey, I learned this. Is that something for you too?
Yeah.
And that's fun, And working with young people or younger people is always very challenging and fun. But I think they can leverage a lot from the experience I have or some of my colleagues have. So that's great,
Yeah, that's really great. But like you are wearing multiple hats in your current role, so how you make sure to balance between your personal and professional life?
Well, that it's always family first. So like I wouldn't take a role, so I cannot work 5 days a week in one company and then 2 more in another. So then that doesn't work. So I have to shrink down a bit the work in JLL to do some other stuff apart from it. So, but what I love is being together with the family. I'm also a basketball coach for my oldest daughter. So that's why I still try to do as much training as possible and do coach the games on the weekend because that gives you the chance to forget about the working life and do something else.
Yeah, I think it's much needed in our hectic schedule.
Of course,
It's a brain changer for everybody to come back with a fresh energy and mind to start again with the new things.
Yeah, it's like a little piece for your head for certain hours when you do the training or the games. Yeah, even though it's not too peaceful when you train the girls basketball team, but
yeah, we totally get you. I think that's much needed for everybody. So since you mentioned about your startup, so would you like to speak something about that, from where that idea picked up and what exactly the startup is doing at the moment and where you would like to take it forward?
For sure. Waco Robotics is a platform for robotics. So it's mainly consists out of 3 things. One thing is we have the largest platform where when you look for robots, they have the lots of bots page where all the robots are listed that exist more or less in this world. So you can see how good they are, what they do, what performance they have, and for what area of robotics they are interested in the logistics world. The second thing is they have a system called Waco Sense. So if you have various robots in your warehouse and each one has a fleet manager, Waco has a possibility to have an agnostic fleet manager on top that they don't crash into each other because each one has one for its robots, but nothing together. So it has an agnostic fleet manager on top. And the third one, and that's the one that is running the best, is Waco Care. It's like a predictive maintenance for robots, so that you connect it via an API and you can see how the robots are working, when you have to change certain things, when you have to do maintenance services. It connecting the user with the integrator and the OEM and sometimes the service company all together on one platform. And that's what we're trying to scale very big, that it's becoming one of the leading predictive maintenance platforms in the world.
Oh,
and
that's interesting.
So that's fun, right?
Yeah,
and
that's fun.
Really enjoying it.
Yeah.
And at the moment, all the OEMs are really looking into it. And as the robotics are scaling like crazy, that's also good for us. Yeah. And that's why I decided to work together with the guys and help them to grow the business.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
Yeah. And when I grow the business, obviously it helps you as an investor as well.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So I don't want to be a passive investor. I want to be an active
investor. Yeah. Makes sense. So since everybody is talking about this AI and robotics across the world, what do you think how this AI and robotics will shape the supply chain world in future?
You're gonna have robotics everywhere.
Yeah.
It's in the warehouses. 2 years ago in the clubhouse talks, we were like, when is the first dark warehouse really coming, where there are only robotics and maybe some maintenance people for the robotics, but no one else.
Yeah.
That will take a bit, but more and more companies are experiencing with robotics.
Yeah.
And it helping people. And at the end, a job working to unload a container, all these tons of parcels out there, is not really something good for humans, because you will hurt your bag, and it's very demanding job.
Yeah.
And if we can substitute that by robotics, that will be great.
Great.
Yeah, that we can use the humans for other parts in the business,
Yeah.
especially in regions like here where the demographic factor is not growing, it's declining.
Yeah.
More robotics will come, and they come in every area, in the service area, in the hospitals, and they come everywhere.
Yeah.
And then that's going to be very interesting.
Yeah. So since we are talking about this e-commerce sector, as you mentioned in the previous answer, what do you think how e-commerce industry will thrive in Europe? Because personally I see, as a supply chain expert, I think there is a lot of scope to improve in this Europe region from an e-commerce perspective, considering all the legal bindings and the GDPR things over here.
Well, there are a lot of things that will change over the next years. I mean, the hype is still growing, obviously a little declining, because now that people can buy in usual retail stores anymore. But more and more businesses discover the direct-to-consumer way. Because why you have to send a washing machine from a producer to a retailer to another warehouse and then to the final customer. And now they start with direct shipments to the customers and these kinds of building up new networks. The city logistics around will improve, hopefully. And e-commerce will still increase. Some will have some issues because they just said, okay, I'm just selling everything online and hope it works. But don't work on the service. And now with companies like Temu and Shein doing direct shipments, that will be interesting to see how that is changing the world a bit. So there will be always a lot of new concepts, and it's very exciting to see how that is working out. And also how retail is reacting with more innovative shops to bring the people back to the cities, because they're not going to give up. It's going to be omni-channel all the time. So that's going to be a very, very exciting ride.
But do you think the German, let's talk about Germany, because we are sitting right now in this country. So do you think that German government is prepared enough to handle the kind of challenges that we are also going to see along with this implementation of AI? Because of course there will be data breaches, or there will be a violation of data policies that we have here at the Germany. So how do you think how they are going to deal with all this kind of challenges while leveraging this technology to make our life simpler?
I mean, there has to be some changes, and especially there will be European laws. So we see this now with the Supply Chain Act from Germany. It was there, now we have a French one, and we were going to have a European one. The Americans have one in California, and they soon going to have, it takes a little bit longer there, but soon they're going to have somewhere else. And once the companies have to apply these rules, the big companies have to apply these big rules in quite big markets, they're going to apply it everywhere. And then it will be a global thing. And then if you don't comply with this, or you don't play along with the rules, you're not going to be a supplier, it's just not working, because the more complex the rules are, the more difficult it is. So the European Union hopefully will streamline that now, and then together with the Americans, Indians, Chinese, and sooner or later we hopefully have some global rules. And we need the global rules for AI as well. You can hear this, and that's not a supply chain topic, but you can read that on LinkedIn all the time. What's going to happen, what guidelines we need for AI, and let's see.
Let's see. It's interesting to see with all the surprises that we are going to see in the upcoming years.
Of course, that's going to be very, very good.
So since we are talking about supply chain and logistics together, Sven, we know that you are also part of BVL family. So people who don't know about BVL, we would like to request you for them. Could you please explain about BVL to them?
The BVL, so the German Logistics Association, is the biggest network in Germany, probably together with the CSCMP, the only global one. And it is really important for young people to join it, because what you have there is the experience. You can go and visit different warehouses, different conferences, and exchange with each other, and see some new technologies and these kind of stuff. They have a young professional network, for example, and obviously also for the professionals as well. They have a ladies in logistics network, so everyone can find people to connect. And I think in these days it's really important to connect with people, to hear about the latest trends and not stay in your room and try to solve the problems of the world.
Correct. Yeah.
And really go out there, join the club. Yeah, I think it's maybe 100 or 150 euros a year or something. It's not a big money you have to spend there, and what you get back is a lot if you use it. Obviously, if you just pay it and you never go there, it doesn't help. But be active. Go to the conferences of the BVL and. And the same for other logistics clusters in the world. Use it to connect with people. And that's also one of the biggest challenges, to bring the young people into that. And great that you have your podcast, and hopefully a lot of young professionals will join and listen to the discussions you're bringing on, and that's great.
That's great. Let's see. I think we hope that we should get a positive response for the BVL through this podcast.
Yeah, for sure. I will post it for sure for the BVL.
Thanks a lot for that. So I think we have discussed briefly about your career journey. You have spent around a decade in the supply chain, come logistic world, starting with the human resource accidentally, which you mentioned, which was quite interesting. So after spending around a decade in this logistic and supply chain world, we would like to hear your advice for the young professional who would like to start their career in the logistic. What all things that they should consider, mainly so that they know that this is going to be the best thing that is going to work out for them in future.
Yeah, of course it's going to be the best thing, because supply chain is the heart of the economy. So everything is flying through it. So from production to sourcing to distribution to the final mile, and that's all logistics, supply chain, and even more with the e-commerce coming more and more, it's all about supply chain, marketing and supply chain at the end, and that's why logistics and supply chain is the most interesting field from my point of view. And what you need as a young person, be curious, as I said, go to the conferences, learn something, interact with other people, find a mentor you can talk to that is guiding you through the jungle. Don't get frustrated, because obviously in supply chain we try to be perfect. We try to solve everything by 100%, and then another black swan is coming and everything is gone. And you have to have a certain drive to perfection when you work there, because you try to find the best solution. Maybe that is changing a bit in the future, because you have to be more agile now. You shouldn't overthink everything. And try certain stuff, especially when it comes down to the robotics, especially when it comes to AI, how you use it in the best way. But for young people, really connect with each other. Via LinkedIn, via podcasts, via conferences. Reach out to the people. Usually they're quite open in logistics. And they help you guiding through it. Of course, the words in the warehouse could be quite rough sometimes. And the life there. But it is great, and if you're looking for an international career, logistics is always the same everywhere. Differences from country to country, just because of language laws and stuff like that. But you can work everywhere. You cannot do that if you study law. If you study German law, what do you do in another country where you cannot apply the same law? And in logistics, this is
not the case.
You can use it wherever you want. Inventory management is the same everywhere.
Exactly.
Supply chain planning, what you're doing, you can do it everywhere. You did it in India, you do it now here in Germany. I did it in Mexico, in Germany, and wherever. So and it's fun. It's really fun.
It's fun.
I really enjoy it. So
thanks a lot, Sven, for giving your valuable time to us.
Thank you.
In this podcast, and I think we really had a great time with you. Spent to learn about your career journey, and we would like to be in touch with you after the podcast as well.
Of course. Thank you very much, and I hope you enjoyed the discussion. And see you on the next conferences for sure. And if you have any questions, please reach out to me. And happy to answer the questions.
Thanks a lot.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
Cool. Thank you.